People look at me and they think, what does she know about obesity? When I'm talking in groups and when I'm helping, in the advocacy world. And I think, well, do I tell my story or don't I tell my story? And I've found that people find the story interesting, but also sort of incredulous. Because when I say I used to weigh 225 pounds, it's impossible for people to understand what that means. And so I have to start at the beginning. And the beginning is, when I was a baby, I wouldn't eat. And my parents tricked me into eating. And I then spit everything back out at them. But by the time I was 2.5, I was a fat baby. I was a fat child. And that was the beginning. And you say to yourself, how does a 2.5-year-old get to be fat? And there's no good answer there. There just isn't. And so from that point forward, I got bigger and bigger and bigger and lived with obesity, which is a horrible way to live in our society. There's prejudice, there's discrimination, and there's just an overall sense that you end up feeling shame, that somehow you should be better than the obesity and conquer it. You should be able to do it on your own, and you should be able to make it go away. And I remember when I was 45, I think, it was the year 2000, and I woke up one morning, I smacked my forehead, and I said, short of a brain transplant, I will never live outside this body. I will never be thinner, and I will never maintain the weight I continuously lost and gained more, and lost and gained more. And I decided to have bariatric surgery. It was in that moment, it was like a lightning bolt. And I never looked back. I had the surgery. Obviously, it was successful. But the thing is that now I see differences in how I'm treated, and I think it's wrong, it's unfair. I have sort of a reverse story. People talk about how, they suddenly get a job they didn't think they would get before. But I had an interesting social experience. I was in a store, and I was paying. Store is a very long store. And so as I was leaving and I was looking up towards the door, there was a man just standing there. I mean, he was literally just standing there. And I got closer and closer and closer, and I finally got to the door, and he opened the door for me. So he waited this entire time just to open the door for me. And I thought, oh my God, this is what thin people get all the time. And this is not what I would have gotten in a million years when I weighed 225 pounds. And so socially, it was just a stark image of what the differences are. As far as jobs, I don't know. There was a job I didn't get. I can't say for sure, it's retrospective, but I suspect it could have played a role. But my life changed, and on the other hand, it didn't in a lot of ways. The same mental components of when I had obesity as a physical visual play the same way a lot now. I still have some of the insecurities. I still have some of the I feel huge kinds of things going on. The valence changed, it got lower, but it's there. These are lifelong things that were hardwired into me, and they play out in different ways socially. And so it's amazing to me that no matter what the body is, the mind plays a whole different role a lot of the time. And I think about, how do we stop it? How do we stop this weight bias? How do we make people understand? And I think a lot of it comes down to teach your children well. Make sure that the next generation doesn't look at weight the same way the rest of us do. And make sure that the prejudices they're taught not to have in other areas apply to weight, that it's just another manifestation, it's another disease process that people have to understand. And absolutely we need to educate those outside of children, but I do believe that children, the next generation, is the generation that learns from the beginning not to manifest this kind of prejudice. So I feel very fortunate. I am able to live in a different body. I have a lot of control, not all, about how my mind works, but I never forget that I have obesity.